Hi, I'm Captain Mike, and in this video I am going to show you some experiments that I have done using ash glazes. I have an earlier video, if you wish to watch it, on how I made a simple ash glaze. It's simple and easy and anybody can do it, but the more I think about it, the more I want to improve on the glaze. There is very little information that I can find online that tells you what you can do to change the composition, color, texture, whatever of your glazes. So I just decided to dive right in and give it a shot. Now here's some stuff that I had previously glazed with ash glazes while I was experimenting in the early stages of making the glaze. And as you can see, there are different colors and textures that were produced. The most interesting one, I won't say the prettiest because it's not, but the most interesting one was this one. And I never did figure out exactly what happened here, except I think the glaze may have been too thick and a little moist, and as it dried it bubbled, and when it bubbled it gave it this look here. Couldn't reproduce it if I wanted to, I don't think, but that's my guess. But that's an interesting effect. You might get something like that. That's kind of a standard low fire effect you get. Very matte, very textured if you run your finger over it, kind of like fine sandpaper, and it's a chocolate brown. This one I think was dipped. It has some shine to it, and which doesn't always happen, but it was dipped, if I'm not mistaken. This one I think was just painted with about 3 coats, using a paintbrush, and it has a mottled effect and slightly matte, slightly shine in places. This one just came out a totally different color, and it may have been dipped also, and don't know exactly what kind of ash I used, but that was an example. And of course this one here is sort of typical of anything with lines and textures and lots of relief. It came out great. It's more or less shiny. But that's some examples of what you get if you just throw, say, 50% ash, 50% ball clay, and some water together, stir it all up, and put it on a clay bisque piece, and fire it to about cone 6 or 7. That's kind of what you get. Now I'm going to show you just a couple of the experiments I've done, and I'll show you some of the effects that may be a little bit more controllable than this right here. Here are my tests that I run, and I'm going to see if I can mumble through this because each of these squares represent something different that I tried. So we're going to start off with this one right here. All of these colors are textures, whatever you want. They're all shades of brown or cream. We're done on using red oak ashes, and the first one here was my standard mixture of 50-50 red oak ash and just ball clay. And you can see maybe you can see a little shine on it. Okay, so it's fine. It come out just fine. But I wanted to see what would happen if I added different amounts of things and different stuff to the mix. So this right here is the same ash. It's red oak ash, 1 part, and 2 parts ball clay. So I just upped the clay, and as you can see, added no ash, it started to make the color cream, and it also gives some texture. This feels slick. This feels textured. The reason for that is the ball clay is white and opaque. So the more ball clay that you add, the more clay-like color you're going to get. If you use red clay, it's going to turn red. This is ball clay and it was white, so that's what you get. Now, I went ahead and changed things up a little bit, and I came down here and I went back to my 50-50 ash clay mix, ball clay, but I added 4% of the total mix. I added silica, just silica sand that you can buy. It changed it a little bit. Color's a little darker, and it begins to kind of run. Not so much straight down, although it would have had this piece been fired like this. These were all fired laying flat, but you can see what happened here. There's a little shine back to it again, but it's different than this. Now this one is interesting. It also, and why I did this, I don't know, but it's starting to get kind of where I wanted it to go. This is red oak ash, 50-50 with ball clay, and I added 4% frit. And of course you can get it online from clay supply stores. And the frit is similar to silica, but it does different things. And I always wondered what things that these additives gave to a clay body when you fired it. And this, as you can see, this is very shiny, very slick. It went from 50-50 clay ash here to this almost white just by adding the frit. And the carbon particles seem to stand out as little specks. So that was the red ash test. This one is red cedar ash test. This is the 50-50 one. And it's rough. It's matte and it feels like sandpaper. And that's what I got on this test. Now these, I don't know if these are you can duplicate these each time the same way or not. I didn't go to all that trouble. Took a long time to do this anyway, so I'm just giving you what I got on my first initial test, and you can experiment from there. The second one here is red cedar ash and ball clay, 2 parts. Same as this one, just 2 parts. So the cedar changed color. It didn't pick up the ball clay as much as the oak. Could have been the amount of carbon that was in the ashes. I don't know. It is also a matte color, and it's slightly textured. Then I went down here and I started with the silica and the feldspar, and this is the silica. Again, the silica started to gloss in places. And this was with 4% silica, and it's just a tad darker, but not a whole lot. The final one, and true to form, the red cedar ash 50-50 with ball clay, 4% frit, went very smooth, picked up some nice little modeling here, but it is shiny, it's glossy, and the carbon stands out very nice. And so, that's kind of holding true here on everything as to what the silica and the frit and the increases in clay does to the ash. And the last one here is a piece where I added more silica or more frit, and the first is the red oak, and I increased the silica to about, I don't know, I wish I wrote down the percentage, but I didn't. But I went, so it was a small container, and I just dumped about 1 ounce of silica in here, and it went very light, and it's not real shiny. And you kind of compare it though, but this is to the oak. It just kind of made the brown go away. And the second one here, this is where it gets really interesting. The second one here is frit, and this is something that you might want to really know, because each time I have used it, it has given me this effect. And this is the red oak ash, and it has frit in it. I'll spit it out in a minute. And I put about 1 ounce of frit in the same little container, and it glossed over beautifully. It has a nice honey color to it, and it's got the crackles in it. Now, mind you, these crackles didn't come through the glaze. I don't know how the crackle deal works. You can buy the stuff, but the addition of that frit made a great crackle pattern if you wanted to use it. Now, for something like a raku, there's no relief here, and so it wouldn't really do the crackle thing with the black carbon in the reduction in that, but this is a nice effect. This is, I run out of cedar, so I use pine ash I had, and this is the silica. Again, I dumped about 10% of silica in there, and it is a totally matte, totally textured like sandpaper, but an interesting effect. The carbon shows up good from the pine. And the most interesting of all, and almost the last thing that I accomplished here, was I put the frit. And again, you can see what the frit does. The frit just really, if you want to add shine to your ash glaze, get you some frit. Now, the amount of frit you use, see this one here, I don't know whether you can see it. It has crackling in it too. Really nice crackling. And of course, the pine is a softer wood, and it has a lot more carbon, so the spots are bigger. These are things you'll have to experiment with the woods that you have locally, and you can see what your results are. But those are the 3 panels that I fired using the glazes, and you can see just from changing amounts of things what you get. Now, lastly, I said, well, what if I add color? Some color. So what kind of color am I going to add? Well, I chose to use oxides. I have lots of oxides. I use them for a lot of things. I don't know if they fire off. I have done some experiments in clay, trying to color clay with them, and there's a video on that also, with mixed results. And here is the first piece that I'll show you, and it is oak ash, ball clay, and silica with about a spoonful of yellow oxide. It looked really golden yellow when I painted it on here. So I put 3 coats and fired it to cone 7. It's not perfectly shiny, but it's interesting. A little bit different than these, but you know, not a lot, but a little bit might be enough to interest you. Now this one, however, came out pretty neat. This one was the same thing, oak ash, ball clay. I put frit instead of silica, and I put a teaspoon of green oxide, and that is just neat. I hope that you can see that on the video. It is a dark green with black mottling, if you will call it, mottling, whatever, if you will call it that, all through it, and it just looks great. I'm going to have to do a piece of wear with this just to see how it comes out. But those are the effects. I didn't try blue. I didn't try neon oxides. I didn't try any of that. That'll be for a later video, and I'll try doing some different colors based on this recipe right here. Just change the colors up and give you a kind of a heads up on how that works. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you, and we're going to call this thing done, is 3 pieces. Let me see if I can get over here and get them. These were done earlier, and clear up some of the clutter. Y'all stick with me, okay? These 2 pieces were done, and this was using, I think, pine, and they came out pretty good. The recipe on this would be with the frit. The frit makes it shiny, and I was right pleased with those. And there's some goof ups on my part where I probably didn't get all the. I didn't clean the wear good before I done it. I was in a hurry, so I just slapped it on there. And you need to clean it real good. You won't get them kind of spots like that. but they're fine for experiments and giving away to friends and enemies. Now, here's the last one. I was real pleased with this. This is another experiment that I did with a clay body. Not a clay body, with clay slip. I took a plastic maple jug that was going to be thrown away, and I made a mold. I made a 2-piece mold of the jug, and this was the second one. The first one totally collapsed and tore up coming out of the mold. And this one collapsed on this one side. It just kind of pooched in, because I don't know why, but it did. So I blowed down in the hole. It's kind of like, stick your lips over the hole and blowed in it and blowed it out. And it blowed out pretty good. In fact, it blowed out so much you put a crack in it. So I had to add all kinds of stuff and play with it and tell it I loved it and all that good stuff. And it healed up, but you can see it's kind of got a booger on the end. However, don't you think that's just gorgeous? I mean, I really do. I don't gush much over a lot of the things I do, but where this is going to lead me further down the trail to what I want to do with my ash glazes. The glazes just kind of flow. This is 3 coats of, actually, this is 3 coats of just about everything I had in this experiment. I just dumped them all into a bigger container, stirred the heck out of them, and then I painted 3 coats. So this has got frit, it's got silica, it's got pine, oak, and cedar ash in it. But what shows up is the big pieces of pine ash. And as you can see, as it goes down here, it's beginning to move and flow. So anyway, that's it. Enough. I've babbled on and on, but I am proud of this piece. Even though it's got an ugly side to it, it's nice. It'll probably go in my Keep Forever collection. And that's it, folks. That is what you can do. Some of the things that you can do with an ash glaze. Homemade, perfectly cheap, except for, well, it's cheap. The silica and the frit cost almost nothing. Buy you a couple of pounds of it and you'll have it forever. So give it a try. Let me know how it comes out for you. Let me know if there's something about this video that you don't like, something I said incorrectly, something that where I'm totally wrong and I need to tell you that I'm wrong, and we'll fix it. Be adult, and I'll be adult, and we'll both, or all of us, will learn from this. So with that said, I appreciate y'all watching this video. I'm Captain Mike, and I'm out of here.